All right, tea spillers, welcome back to our cult series. We've covered Jonestown, we've covered Waco, and now we're stepping into one of the strangest, most bizarre cult stories ever told. Picture this: UFOs, aliens, matching outfits, and 39 people convinced they were about to hitch a ride on a spaceship trailing behind a comet. Yep, this is the story of Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate was founded by two very unlikely prophets, Marshall Applewhite, nicknamed Dew, and Bonnie Nettles, nicknamed T. The two met in the 1970s and decided they were basically chosen by higher beings to guide others to the next level. Applewhite was a music teacher with a big personality, and Nettles was a nurse fascinated by spirituality. Together, they built this belief system that humans were just vehicles, and our souls were meant to graduate to a higher plane of existence, basically an alien level above human. So what did Heaven's Gate followers believe? That Earth was doomed, that salvation would come in the form of extraterrestrials, and that to escape, you had to shed your human attachments. That meant giving up your family, your identity, and sometimes even your body. Members cut ties with outsiders, lived in strict communal settings, and followed Applewhite's every word. They wore matching clothes, had strict diets, and in some cases, male members underwent voluntary castration to suppress sexual desire. Extreme, right? Heaven's Gate wasn't the biggest cult at its peak. It only had about 100 members. But what it lacked in size, it made up for in intensity. Members referred to themselves as a crew, like they were astronauts preparing for launch. Applewhite called himself the captain, and the cult's houses were basically training grounds for the big departure. They'd spend hours studying scripture mixed with sci-fi, practicing total obedience, and waiting for the signal that it was time to ascend. And then came 1997. Astronomers announced that Comet Hale-bopp was passing close to Earth, and for Applewhite, that was the sign. He told his followers that a spacecraft was hiding in the tail of the comet, ready to carry them to the next level. To reach it, they would have to exit their vehicles. In other words, commit suicide. In March of 1997, police in Rancho Santa Fe, California, walked into what looked like a science fiction set turned nightmare. Inside a mansion, they found 39 bodies, 39 members of Heaven's Gate, lying neatly in bunk beds and on mattresses. Each was dressed identically: black shirts, black sweatpants, new Nike sneakers, and a purple shroud over their faces. They had all taken a lethal mix of barbiturates and alcohol, believing that their souls were transferring to the spaceship following Comet Hale-bopp. Applewhite was among the dead. It was organized, calm, and eerily precise. Inside a mansion, they found 39 bodies, 39 members of Heaven's Gate, lying neatly in bunk beds and on mattresses. Each was dressed identically: black shirts, black sweatpants, new Nike sneakers, and a purple shroud over their faces. They had all taken a lethal mix of barbiturates and alcohol, believing that their souls were transferring to the spaceship following Comet Hale-bopp. Applewhite was among the dead. It was organized, calm, and eerily precise. The Heaven's Gate suicides shocked the world. The matching uniforms, the UFO beliefs, the idea of dying to board a comet, it was surreal, even by cult standards. Media swarmed the story, documentaries were made, and the group became infamous as the UFO death cult. A few surviving members are still out there today, keeping the website alive, yes. The actual Heaven's Gate website is still online decades later. But for the 39 who died, their story became one of the most bizarre and chilling examples of how far devotion to a leader can really go. So that's story 3 of our cult series, the tragic and strange saga of Heaven's Gate. From UFO dreams to mass suicide, it's a reminder of how dangerous blind faith can be, especially when wrapped in promises of salvation. Next time, we'll explore another cult story that will leave you just as shocked. Until then, remember, if someone tells you salvation is hiding in the tail of a comet, maybe sit that right out.